Welcome to Topic 3, mole ratios. Okay, and then there are some funny letters at the bottom here. So this is another way of writing our process. So whenever I give you mass of something and you're asked for mass of something else, you need to go through 1, 2, 3 steps in terms of calculations. So we're going to walk through those 3 steps. Yay! But first we're going to review where they come from on our mole map. So I would suggest getting out your mole map because it's obviously hard to read some of these things from this distance. So this is the same idea. We're going to go from mass to mole, then from moles to moles of another compound, and then from moles of that compound back to mass. Both of these 2 conversions will be using molar mass, and anytime I change between 2 different compounds, I'm going to be using my mole ratio. So let's take a look at our problem. This is the very last problem on this summative. We have 750 grams of glucose, okay? And that yields some amount or some mass of ethanol, I believe? Nope. Yes, ethanol. This is ethanol. Yay, you now know what ethanol looks like. Okay, number 1, our first step is to convert from grams to moles. So if we're multiplying by a line, that's going to be grams times moles over grams equals grams. The inverse of that is dividing by, not that you can see that because of the shadow of my hand. Okay, so we're going to take grams divided by grams per mole equals moles. Anytime you see grams and moles in the same unit, you're going to think molar mass. So the purpose of this step, using the molar mass, is to convert from mass, so the mass of the substance, to numbers, or the moles of the substance. So I want to know how many glucose molecules there are. But I don't want to deal with all of those numbers, so I use moles instead of actually how many there are. So our calculation should look like this. We should be taking 750 grams, dividing it by 180 grams per mole. I got that by adding together the molar masses of all of my substances here, and then multiplying them by their subscripts. And that should give you a final answer of 4.16 moles of glucose. Notice how we're staying the same, so we have the same compound here as we had up here. Okay? Whenever you are converting from mass to moles, you need to make sure that you're staying within the same compound. I saw a lot of people converting from mass of one compound to mass of another compound. The only way I can go from one compound to another compound is to use my mole ratio. So we're going from moles to moles. So moles of A, and then I multiply it by my line to get to moles of B. Moles of B is going to go on top, and moles of A goes on bottom. When you have moles of A and moles of B, A and B being different chemicals, this should signify mole ratio from the coefficients in the equation. And the equation needs to be balanced. The correctly balanced equation for this problem is 1, 2, 2. So this is important to understand. What this means is that for every glucose molecule that I put in, I will get 2 ethanols and 2 CO2s. Now, if I know that I got 2 CO2s out, that means that I had to have put 1 ethanol in. Now, if I know I got 10 CO2s out, I can backtrack that and say I got 5 glucoses went in. Okay? So these numbers here allow me to translate between the different compounds. So your final answer here, when you set up this equation, should be 4.16. I got that from my answer from my last problem. multiplied by my coefficients, which are 2 over 1, and that equals 8.32. I now have moles of ethanol. Okay? Then finally, our last step is going to be, don't ignore what I just covered up because that was wrong. Okay, the final step is going to be moles to mass of ethanol. So both of these are ethanol. I'm not changing chemicals. I'm just determining if I have this many moles produced, what will be the mass of that amount of ethanol. Here's our multiply by a line with the units. We have moles times grams divided by moles equals grams. Our moles cancel out, which is why grams are left at the end. And we're going to take our answer, 8.33, times the molar mass of ethanol, which is 46.06, and that gives us a final answer of 383.5 grams of ethanol. All right, that should wrap up that problem. You need to be able to follow all 3 steps, and I strongly suggest taking a look at your mole map and actually mapping out, if I'm going from here to here, what is my equation going to be? Am I multiplying? Am I dividing? And what is my conversion factor? What number do I use to translate between these two things? All right, so you should now check out some extra practice on Blackboard 9 and prepare yourself for these topics. Good work.